There we go. Welcome, everybody, to our Thursday night coaching chat. And as always, I want to thank Volvo and for our LA Roadrunners, and of course, ASICS for sponsoring our LA Roadrunners. And off we go. Tonight's topic is hills, heat, and headwinds, the three H's from hell, mostly hills in this one. So here we go. Let me just get that one going. There we go. So thank you all for coming. Hopefully you see me in the right corner of the screen and our video, our display right here. There you go. So today's lecture. First, I do warn all of you that by the end of the lecture, you might see number 5, blasphemy. You may be cursing my name openly and saying mean, hostile things, calling out, guillotine, guillotine, something like that against me, off with my head, whatever. I know I'm about to say some controversial things. Please open your mind to understanding some things in a slightly different way from the way you've understood them in the past. I don't want to change anything that you do. I just want to change the way you think about them. Okay, so here we go. The three H's from hell. You'll note I love drama, using words like hell. The three H's from hell. There are other things beside heat, hills, and headwinds, all of which will raise your heart rate, and we'll get into that in a minute, and the ramification of that. For example, lack of sleep, your heart rate will be higher. Stress, your heart rate will be higher. Getting over a cold, your heart rate will probably undoubtedly be higher because your lungs may not be as open. The alveoli that fills with air and then blood and transfers the air from your lungs into the bloodstream onto your red blood cells. That can be more closed up. We might say congested, but more closed in, less of it. It's like a giant sponge. If it's not expanded, your sponge is shrunk. It won't take in as much liquid, in this case, blood. So all of those things might cause a higher heart rate. So even coming back from a cold, you may want to just slow it down a little bit, go into a slower group. But for all of our groups, regardless of you, the individual, we're all affected by heat, hills, and headwinds. Obviously, headwinds, it's the force coming back at you that you're pushing through the wind. With heat, your heart rate is higher to cool your body off. Your heart acts, we've talked about this before, acts as like a fuel pump, as a water pump to go through from the hottest most point of your body, your internal organs, and take that heat in the bloodstream to your epidermal layer of skin, where you have pores, and release that heat through the pores of your skin. Your skin acts as a giant radiator. And as your body heats up, yes, indeed, that water pump inside of you, meaning your heart, actually can speed up and pump faster. So where a car's water pump cannot do that, we are a pretty impressive machine, we humans. But we're going to focus today on hills. So obviously the thing with hills is gravity is weighing you down. And as you go up that hill, your heart rate will increase because you're fighting against gravity. You're going up, and the gravity becomes the same kind of resistance that headwinds will give you. You're fighting that gravity to go up that hill. Conversely is on the downhill. You're no longer fighting the gravity, you're going with the gravity. And we're going to talk about that running form next. But before we get into that, I do want to show you and discuss heart rate. Because as you're going up that hill, your heart rate's getting higher and higher and higher. And I know I've shown you this graph before, but it's such an important one. This is an experienced runner who's got a long baseline from a lot of low heart rate. I cannot emphasize low heart rate work enough. That volume, we call it endurance. Low heart rate work, usually for runners, it's slower than marathon race pace because you get the same physiological benefits and you get far less risk of injury, because the faster you go, the more pounding there is, the more pounding, the greater the risk of injury. So why go marathon race pace if you get the same physiological benefits? I don't know. And you're also recruiting some slow twitch muscle fiber from going slower that you wouldn't be doing at marathon race pace. So why do people want to go marathon? I can't get it. There is a reason, actually, especially toward the end of season, because marathon race pace will give you the feel of marathon race pace. So that feeling will take you up that hill at that feeling. If you feel marathon race pace, which we will do on several occasions on flat ground, and you get used to that marathon race pace feeling, you want the same feeling of intensity going up the hill. In other words, you don't want your heart rate to start spiking. You want the feeling, the power output, all of that to feel the same, the heart rate to be the same as on flat ground. So that would be one reason why we do marathon race pace. And we're going to get into what is hill training in a moment. But as your heart rate goes up and up and up because of that hill, and this is so critical to the first 6 weeks of your LA marathon, as your heart rate is going up and up and up, and I'm drawing in all of these different thresholds as we go, which we've talked about before. As you go higher and higher in heart rate, this top line is heart rate, the intensity suddenly really starts to skyrocket. Now, as you get to AT, anaerobic threshold, this kind of orange line here, you are no longer using fat as a resource for fuel. That more abundant resource for fuel, you're no longer using it. So if you're running up that hill and running up that hill, and you're no longer, your heart rate's going up and up and up and up and up, and you're just beating yourself up, higher risk of injury for no reason whatsoever, you're no longer in this aerobic, what we call endurance building, fat burning building zone. You're no longer building endurance. In other words, you're no longer building that baseline and all that goes with endurance, capillary veins and arteries, mitochondria, oxidative enzymes, all those endurance things. When you get way up here, you're not even using fat. You're not even coming close to building endurance. You're now just using glycogen. You're depleting your glycogen source reservoir until you're going to come close to hitting the wall as you progress, and down the line. So when we go up those hills, in order to maintain endurance, we need to really slow it down. Now, this coming Saturday, not so Sunday, but this coming Saturday in Griffith Park and in Santa Monica, both groups are going to be going up a pretty good size hill. I want to say about a mile-long hill up into the old zoo, and about 1.25 miles up Amalfi up to Sunset. That's the only hill we're going to do. But it needs to be in that aerobic, low heart rate zone. If you have a power meter, you want your power meter to remain steady, whether you're going up a hill, whether you're going down the hill, whether you're, on flat ground, your power output needs to stay the same. And the feeling of that intensity level needs to stay the same as well, along with heart rate. Got it? Heart rate is not the best determiner of intensity, because as you progress more and more and more and more miles, dehydration and fatigue, your heart rate will start to go up gradually and go up gradually. So there is that element to heart rate that's not a perfect determiner of where you want to be on, sort of flat ground. But power output, cyclists use power output in watts. They look at that on their meters on their bikes. But we could also use feel, for thousands of years, people have run by feel. Okay, let's get back to topics for the day. So what does hill form look like when you're running up or running down a hill? How does the running form, and by the way, all of these things, what I've just described, work with running, run walking, and I'll say it again, runners, their range is way slower, their aerobic zone, their easy pace is way slower than marathon race pace. Run walkers, you're kind of in between, but don't take that, your marathon race pace is kind of in between your easy range, but don't take those hills above that easy range, right? You don't want to raise your heart rate too much, any of you guys. And walkers, it's the opposite. Your marathon race pace is actually a little faster than your training paces, because you want to make sure you're really at easy aerobic building, endurance building heart rate for walkers. And then race day, it's still reasonable, but it's a little faster than training pace. But it's still race pace, marathon race pace for walking still needs to be reasonable. You're going 26.2 miles. It needs to be slow, comfortable, little faster, but still comfortable. The training needs to be slower than that, slower than reasonably comfortable. Okay, running up a hill. You don't want to take long strides. You don't want to lean backwards. Obviously, gravity, if you're leaning backwards, it's going to take you down the hill, not forward. So you want to be at least straight up and down, or even a slight forward lean to go forward. But you really, really do want to focus on short little strides to get you up that hill. And meaning you don't want to reach I'm acting like this is a foot. You don't want to reach out with that foot way in front of you where you're braking when it lands on the ground. You want it to kind of land at least a little bit under, if your hip is there, you want it to land a little, maybe your heel 2 inches in front of your hip, right? So a little bit in front of your hip, not too much. If that's your hip, a little bit in front of it. But you don't want to be reaching out, because you're going to hit that hill, coming up, and it's going to break your forward momentum. You don't want to break your forward momentum. So going up the hill, short, quick strides. Going down the hill, I am willing to bet that those of you who have run or even walked to some degree, less or so, but run down a hill, you've gotten to a point where you feel out of control, where it's almost like you just cannot run fast enough to contain that momentum of that downhill. In order to control that momentum, all you need to do is shorter, quicker stride, and really focus on that this Saturday. You have far less pounding, and I'm sorry, I'm muting someone. You have far less pounding on the downhill from shorter, quicker stride, because you're going to be touching down and sustaining your momentum and your weight with more support on the ground by touching the ground quicker. And you're not going to be reaching out in front. And as you're going down that hill, the higher you reach out, the more you're going to be falling forward, be it walking or running, right? So shorter, quicker stride, really all you need to do, you don't even need to push off. You don't even need to push, you don't need to push back to go forward. All you need to do is kind of double time it. So pick your feet up and put them down really, really quickly. Kind of double time it. You don't have to lift your knees way high. You're not doing that. Just really quick, your feet up and down, up and down, up and down, really quick. Far less pounding on the knees, far more control. And you're going to be going way down, way quick. Okay? The more times you touch the ground, the more stability you will have, the less pounding. Got it? So short, quick stride, don't even push off. Just pick them up, put them down really quick, your feet. Okay, that's running hill form training. Really, really important. You don't want to hurt your knees. Keep in mind the first 6 miles of the LA Marathon. I already have my lecture on YouTube. It's about a 23-minute lecture just on the first 6 miles of the LA Marathon alone. Right out of the gate, we go up a hill. We kind of veer to the left. You 2 weeks before the LA Marathon on a Saturday, we will be at Dodger Stadium twice. The second time will be 2 weeks. One is December 16th, I want to say. The second time will be, we will be starting on the starting line of the LA Marathon. There's a little S painted on the street there in Dodger Stadium in the parking lot. That's where we're going to start. We're going to do the first 6 miles. And right out of the gate, you will see you kind of veered off to the left and you're going up about a third of a mile hill out of the stadium. That's the start of your race. And people right off the bat are zooming up that hill because you got a ton of glycogen, you got a ton of energy, and you're racing up that hill. Your fuel levels are on full, your resources are on full, you've slept, you're energized, you're ready to roll. Right off the bat, people are screwing up by going up that hill too far, too fast. Their heart rates are too high. They're consuming too much glycogen and they're depleting glycogen levels too quickly early in the race, right after the starting line. Then about mile 3, about mile 2.5 to 3, something like that, you go up half a mile at 3rd Street, go over 2 blocks, you're going up half a mile, some good climb, 3rd Street, 1st Street. Then you go over a couple blocks, you go way down Temple, and at about mile, what is it, about 3 to 4.25, something like that, 3 to 4.25, something like that, somewhere around there. It's in my lecture. Anyway, you're going up a 1.25 miles, 1.33 miles, unrelenting hill, very similar to Amalfi. And, so the next question is what is hill training? Do you really need to train that in order to do it? And my answer is no, that's not really what hill training is all about. What you really need to focus on is what I've just been talking about, is heart rate. In other words, getting up that hill in the LA Marathon, and part of hill training, sort of, and we'll go into this a little more in 2 seconds, is learning to slow it down. What do you do to slow it down? And more of that is going to come in my number 5 in blasphemy, where I say things that some of you will not maybe think you've normally heard, or maybe even think is true. But that's why I'm kind of leading up to this. Learning to do a hill like Temple, that's 1.25 miles, like Amalfi that we're doing in training, has nothing to do with hardcore training. Someone actually quit our group a year ago saying that, oh, we're too hardcore, we're doing all these hills. And, we may not do as many hills this year, but there is a lesson in doing these hills. And it's not just training your body. That's a whole different thing we'll talk about in a second. It's about learning to slow down, learning to get up that hill, get to the end of mile 6, get not just to the end of Echo Park Pond, which is mile 6, but up Sunset, which is just a tiny little hill up to Sunset from Echo Park Pond. And what is that, mile 6.25 or something? At any rate, when you get to Sunset, if you're feeling really good, you did it right. You got through the hills of the LA Marathon. You did it right. You did what's called the technical part of the course really well. And what is the answer to doing it really well? Slow down. Just slow down. And I'm going to get into that in a moment. And that's the stuff you're not going to want to hear. But hill training is learning how to slow down. Hill training can also be, that's long distance. Hill training can also be on short distance efforts. Something that's like a threshold run. You can race up a hill. and really race your heart rate, T pace, threshold pace. Use that hill in order so you don't have as much pounding on the uphill as you would on flat ground. You're not going as fast, but you are racing your heart really high, even though you may not be going as fast. So in some cases, you can actually do hill training by going up a hill at slower pace because your heart rate's going way up as you go up that hill. Make sense? So that's part of hill training. It's not something you do to beat yourself up on a long run to get your body used to hills. It's something you use as training to either get used to slowing it down, learn to go slower, which is key for the race, and building endurance at the same time. We're still doing an endurance run. The endurance run is not stopped just because there's a hill. You don't want to just suddenly, okay, training is over. We're now going up a hill. We're now going to race our heart rate way up. No. It's not about race pace. It's not about training for marathon race pace. It's about slowing down, maintaining endurance, maintaining easy pace, which comes way down in pace when you're going up a hill. But you can use that uphill on short distances for hill training to race your heart rate. And even on the downhill, if you want, to get your pace, your form, to get shorter and faster. So on the downhill, to train your body for running form, the shorter stride, like 180 steps a minute, is more optimal. And you can train your body to do more steps more quickly, more shorter stride on a downhill by just doing that short, really quick, pick them up, put them down, pick them up, put them down on that downhill. And that's going to be training your running form to get quicker and shorter stride as well, which is important for all overall running form. So then when you're on flat ground, you'll be a little quicker and a little shorter in your stride. You won't be reaching bounding, you'll be a little quicker and shorter. All important things. That's all the different things that hill training can do. Okay. Now we're going to get into the drama. And you all know me, I love drama. And part of my slide is actually not here. The number 6 is actually just Q&A, which you probably can't see. But at any rate, blasphemy. Here's where you're probably going to be screaming my name with expletives, which we won't describe. And I want to tell you about hill training and low heart rate. So here's the deal. I know you're not going to want to hear it. I'm going to start with run walk. And I've said this before. I'll say it here. It's now official. Run walkers, when you're going up a hill and your heart rate's going up and up, you don't want your heart rate to keep going up, especially not on a long run. You want easy to remain easy, even on an uphill. It's okay to ignore the beep on your watch. I've told the story before. There was another group that years ago, we were training the first 6 miles in the LA Marathon just to get used to lowering our heart rates on the uphills. And we were kind of paralleling a run walk group from a different group. And we were both at the same 10-minute per mile pace. And that group, the watch beeped, and I'd be going up the hill, go like 3rd Street. I'd be going up the hill, going up the hill, going up the hill. And I'd say, let's slow down, let's slow down, let's slow down, let's slow down. And now we're walking, right? Because the hill progressed and we just slowed down to a walk. We were at 10 minutes. This is a run-only group, 10-minute per mile pace. And my God, we were walking. And the run-walk group would be, surprisingly, suddenly I'd hear a little beep. And the pace leader and the group, kind of right parallel next to us, would call out, okay, time to run. And they would be running up the hill because their watch said beep, and it's time to run. And then they kind of get to the top or almost to the top, and I'd hear a beep again, and they'd be walking. And they were at the top. And we'd be, okay, let's start to speed up a little more, a little more, a little more. And we get to the very, very top. And now we jog to the very top. And then we start running again at regular marathon race pace. And we did this 3rd Street, 1st Street, down Temple, up Temple, down toward Echo Park Pond. They got to Echo Park Pond before us, and you could see it in their faces. They were done. Mile 6, they were just done. And you could hear them talking. It's like, oh my God. They had 20 miles to go on race day. If this was race day, they would have had 20 miles to go, and they were done. And we were like, okay, that was easy. We're just getting started. Felt great. Really good. So when we're going up Amalfi, when you're going up to the old zoo or any of the hills that we do in Griffith Park, or even that giant hill, which we will not be doing this week, we did last week at Newport Beach, and we will be doing other hills at Newport Beach in the future. It's not about this hardcore training program. I don't want pace leaders or anybody to go up that hill really hard. In fact, if you start feeling even a little bit higher heart rate, call it out. Say, I need to slow down now, just call it out. And probably other people around you will kind of agree. I need to also. I don't care about marathon race pace, average pace. I don't care about any of that stuff. Doesn't equate to anything to me. What equates to me as training is maintaining that even power output that's going to build your aerobic base, that's going to build your fat burning engine, even sustaining similar heart rates from the bottom to the top of the hill, same heart rate. That's what makes sense to me. That's what training is all about. So, okay, walking. I'm going to say something else you may not want to hear. It's okay to stop. It's okay to stop. Jeff Galloway, who invented the run-walk method, even said, it's okay when you're a walker and your heart rate's way up there, or even increasing. It's okay to stop and kind of shuffle your feet. He called it shuffling. Just pick your feet up and put them down, just really, really a little bit, just to keep your legs moving so they're not filling with waste product, lactic acid and all of that. Just to move a little tiny bit, but in the same spot. If you need to, even if you've made the mistake of letting your heart rate go up a little too high, too long, you've gone at it too long, sit down. What the heck? You could even continue to, move your feet a little while sitting on a wall. Let your heart rate come down. It's okay. This is training. Even if you need to during the first 6 miles or beyond on the LA Marathon. Joe has been having great results. Just taking a break. The back end of Jose's walk group. Take a break. No one's gonna say, what the hell are you doing? You're going 9 miles this Saturday, all of you, everyone online, or 11 if you're in the 4-hour or faster groups, marathon finish time 4 hours or faster. You're going 11 miles this week, everyone else 9. So here's the big one. And I know I'm going to get some kickback on this one, pushback, but I got to say it. Here it is. I've kind of already alluded to the idea. For runners, I'll say it, going up a big hill, even during the LA Marathon, if you're slower than a 4-hour finish time and you're a run-only group, faster than 4 hours and faster, you want to slow down significantly. I mean, really slow. Let the fast group fly past you, because you will find them again later on, and they won't be looking so good. In most cases, they'll be walking. I actually had an 8:30 pace group, and people were calling out, "Come on, you guys, come on, up Temple," and the LA Marathon. Come on, you can do it. You can make it. Come on. And they were going slow as molasses up that hill. And later on, they saw those same guys, that same group that was cheering them on, trying to motivate them to get going and all that. They didn't mean bad. And they were like mile 22, 23. They were walking and not looking good. And our pace leader overheard them say, maybe we should have followed those guys. That 8:30 group that was slow as molasses going up Temple. But if you're slower than 4 hours and you're a run-only group, and here it comes, oh boy, this is the big kicker. It's okay to walk. I know, I know. I said it to runners. I said it's okay to walk. I was on the LA Marathon once, and we were going up a big hill, and this is a different course. It was like near Beverly Hills a long, long time ago. And a woman said to me, David, we're paralleling right next to each other. A woman said to me, David, why don't you just walk? And I'm thinking in my head, I'm a runner, damn it. I don't walk, I'm a runner. And I look down and she's walking the same speed I'm running. And I'm thinking, what the hell is wrong with me? I am a moron. And I started walking the same pace she was, and I got up the hill a little easier, from just walking up the hill. And then we started running again. And I finished on time. It was a good day. So there you have it. I know, blasphemy. I've told runners they can walk. I've told run walkers they can throw away their watch and ignore the ratio, run to walk, 4-1, 3-1, 2-1, 1-1, whatever the hell it is. Get rid of it on hills, heat or headwinds. And I've told walkers they can stop. And I know you're thinking, boy, shame, but it's all about heart rate, you guys. It's all about heart rate. And you don't want your heart rate to go up too early. And in the LA Marathon, you got that it's built into that LA Marathon where your heart rate is going to go up too early. Wait till you hear my 23-minute lecture on the first 6 miles, the A lecture on the LA Marathon pacing. It's already up there if you want to see it. We'll be posting the link to it later on in the season as we get closer. There you have it, gang. I'm going to take a look and see what we got in our chat. We are still recording because you guys do really give great questions that I enormously appreciate. And I think a lot of people gain a lot from listening to your questions and answers. So let's take a look at chat, and maybe I can answer some of your questions. And before we do that, let's get rid of this whole thing by saying, whoops, and saying, here it is. I thank you, and I will see you all at the finish line. And we're still recording, but let's get rid of this shared thing. There I am. Good. And now for chat. Anybody, or if you have any questions that you want to scroll your cursor across the screen and verbally, or click on the mute button to unmute yourself and verbally ask something, please feel free to. And I don't know that we have anything. Paul says, thank you for saying walk out loud. Very brave and very helpful. Paul, thank you. I know I took my life into my own hands with runners, run walkers, and walkers, basically everybody out there. I know, I hear it. I hear people screaming. Although it is interesting, we have not lost anybody we still have the same amount of people online. So I enormously appreciate that. Anybody else? Any questions, you guys? Actually, we've gained a couple people. We're now at 29 people. We started, I think it was 26. So I hope I have not offended anyone too much. So any questions or more chat? Anything?
Hi, Coach. This is Kat. Could I ask a question?
Absolutely. I'm going to remove my pin so we can see you, or maybe I'll just leave my pin on. So maybe you may not want to be seen. I don't know. Well, yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so I have a couple of questions regarding speed work. So one of my questions is that I'm new to using the heart rate. I actually just got an Apple Watch this weekend. And so when I do speed work, I'm a little confused on two things. One, when I do, like today, I did like 3 minutes, I forget the names for different things, but like a fast one, and then 3 minutes, so like a half marathon pace, and then repeat that 3 times. But when I go from like the really fast 3 minutes to then slowing down to half marathon, like, do I stop in between there because I'm supposed to go from like high end of, heart rate zone 4 to high end of 3, I think, something like that. So, but in there, it takes time for like my heart to get down to 3. So, do I just like run a lot slower, or do I stop, or do I walk and wait until my heart rate gets lower? Because they're only 3 minutes. I feel like it takes almost like a minute. Like I said, I'm super new, so I'm actually not really sure what my body's doing yet. But does that make sense?
Yeah,
My
great
question. Okay.
question. That's actually a question that a lot of people have is, do I
Yeah.
stop between, and I'll actually add to that a little bit. But the essence of a threshold run, an interval run, not quite as much as a repetition run. The R pace run or repetition run would really be, it's always like a really fast, short 2-minute run followed by walk. So there you stop, you walk it out. You never really want to stop, because if you stop, you get a lot of waste product buildup. When you stop from a long run, suddenly your legs kind of fill up and you can't walk as quickly. You can't run again after a minute, because your legs are filling up with waste product. That's a whole other story. But
Yeah.
but for threshold runs where it's really about longer distance at higher heart rate, right? When,
Yeah.
we start out with shorter distances, like the 3-minute thing that you just did, and we go up to 5 minutes and a little beyond, up to 20 minutes. We even have in some of the schedules, we even have a 40-minute threshold run, which is just,
Oh wow. Yeah.
don't even think about it. Not yet. We'll slowly, you build up and build up. Don't even, I probably should have mentioned we have a 40-minute run with some, not all the schedules. Anyway, and that's slower than the interval or the repetition, the T pace, the I pace, the R pace, each one goes faster. R pace, I pace, T pace. So it's all nonstop.
Okay. So
But
don't worry so much about the heart rate then. I mean, like try to get it down, but
I was just going to say, there is one caveat to that. All right. The more efficient you are from all of this, I mean, there are all these elements that I've been talking about, not just tonight, but weeks past, about building that aerobic base and that aerobic flat line and all of that stuff. One other, capillary veins and arteries, mitochondria, oxidative enzymes, all those things you build at low heart rate, easy, all that. Whether you're running up a hill, hopefully, or flat ground or downhill, or hopefully it's all the same. One of the things that you build is the ability to lower your heart rate more quickly. So people, I have on the schedule, 3 minutes or 2 minutes, at HMRP, which means half marathon race pace. And you're 100% correct when you say you're kind of going from zone 4 at threshold pace down to zone like 3, which is half marathon race pace, HMRP, MRP marathon race pace. H is half, right? Half marathon race pace is about 10 seconds, give or take, about 10 seconds faster than your marathon race pace, your MRP, what it shows on the sign from your group, right? So figure like subtract 10 seconds, go that much faster. That's kind of the ballpark for everybody. Run, walk, walk, kind of ballpark. By the way, run walkers with these threshold runs or interval runs or R pace runs, repetition runs, you want to run them. If you're a run walker and you're doing high heart rate, forget the walk. Unless you're injured, then don't do speed work. But run walkers, you're runners when it's T, I, or R pace, those high heart rate, those faster runs. Got it? So forget walking. You could do a run walk on the easy pace, to warm up, and then the easy pace at the end to cool down. But when it says T pace, HMRP, all that, you're running only. All right. So for those of you like what you're experiencing, you said didn't you just say you haven't been a runner for very long?
No,
Did I
I've
miss
been a
that?
runner for a long. I've been a runner for a long time. I just got the watch, so like I've never used
Oh,
heart
got
rate
it. You
zones to
just got the
train before.
watch.
Yeah, I've
Yeah, I
never used
mean,
that to train.
got it. If
Yeah.
you're burning out, the key focus here and I didn't hear you say this, but if you were burning out, and you weren't able to fulfill all of those sets, you said you were doing 3 sets, eventually you'll be doing 4. If you weren't able to do those 3 or eventual 4 sets,
Yeah.
at about a high heart rate needed, and you needed a little more recovery time to do that, then, slow it down a little more or take a little more time.
1 minute.
Beginners may need to do a little more walking, depending on where you're at. Did you burn out on those 3 sets, or were you able to
I didn't
fulfill
know
that?
that. So that's kind of my second question, because I did not. And I actually was like confused on if I should use heart rate or if I should go like with the paces that I have marked, because
Hmm.
physically I felt like I could have pushed harder, but my heart rate was like higher than, like you said, I think it was like low end of 4. And but my heart rate was
Hmm.
faster, but like I felt good. And like before I was using like just how I felt to push myself. And so to like give you numbers, like mine, I could have pushed to like 7:30 pace, but
Hmm.
like my heart rate was higher. So
Good.
like I slowed down and it like almost like to 8:50. And I was like, so it feels weird because I'm really type A and competitive. So I'm like, I felt like I could have given more, but I was like trying to follow the heart rate. So that's where I'm confused with speed work. Like, is it okay to just go based on how I felt? Because I didn't need to stop. Like I felt like I've done it before without the heart rate, and I can do the 3 cycles without needing recovery. Like I feel good.
Well, you just got the watch, and I
Yeah.
have to ask a question. I have to ask a question, and I think
Yeah.
everyone will gain from this. And that's, where did you find your levels of heart rate?
I think I was at like 157 to like I think 160, like that.
Okay. And
Kind of.
where did you find that information? Where did that come from?
Oh,
This
like
is a
the
whole
just
other
the
lecture.
just the Apple Watch. Like it said my
Okay.
heart rate zones for myself. Yeah, it set them automatically. So I have it like on the automatic. So I actually don't know. Like I didn't do the formula, like the 220 minus your age or anything like that. It
Okay.
just it's I don't know.
So this is a whole other lecture that we're going down this road, but it's an important one. Apple
Mhm.
Watches seem to, from what I've heard, have some of the best heart rate out there.
Really?
Polar, I just saw tonight, came out with a new watch after like 5 years. What the hell's wrong with that company? They used to have the best heart rate on the market, and they just stopped creating new watches suddenly 5 years ago. It's like weird. But and yes, Apple has really good heart rate. The new Koros line, the third version, the third tier now has pretty good heart rate. The op, the op, the wristwatch heart rate is not generally quite as good as the heart rate strap, but they're getting a lot better. They're really close now. The like I said, the Apple Watch, the third version of the Koros, Garmin, I'm not sure about. They're getting closer to the heart rate, the quality of the heart rate strap in terms of heart rate. But the occipital reader that's in your wristwatch where you don't have the heart rate strap, they're not quite there, but they're almost as good as the strap. So the problem, though, and this is especially true where you have that algorithm like 220 minus your age, I think is an absolutely worthless algorithm that shows you nothing. And one of the things that these watches do is they try and calculate. They do have most of these high-end watches do have a certain degree of AI, artificial intelligence, that will kind of calculate where you are after a while. And you said you kind of just got your watch. So I question where your heart rate is and what it's saying. It may say this is your zone, this is your heart rate range at this zone. I have to question whether it's correct, because so many of these watches, especially with the occipital reader, even the Apple, even these others, there's the zone and your heart rate range may be wrong. And the 220 minus your age is a whole, I mean, that makes no sense to me at all. Because here's the problem with that: 220 minus your age, it means that everybody at a certain age is going to have the same heart rate and the same range of heart rates, right? Which is ridiculous. because we all have different size hearts, right? The bigger your heart, the more beats, excuse me, the fewer beats it takes to get the same volume of blood flow through your body, right? As a smaller heart rate, a smaller heart needs more beats per minute to get that same amount of blood flow through your entire body. So just because, forget about age, the size of your heart has got to be the same size as everybody else, which it is not, in order for you to have the same heart rate and then the same age. It's all ridiculous because people at different ages, your heart rate can actually go up and down with efficiency and training. So that means that your heart rate is static and it's the same no matter what your age is. No. Training will raise it up or down. The size of your heart will raise it up or down. So that 220 minus your age is just totally out the window for several reasons. Makes no sense whatsoever. Especially if you're training for something, because if training is all about becoming more efficient, and meaning that your heart is becoming more and more efficient, so it doesn't need to beat as fast to achieve the same amount of blood flow, and you don't need as much oxygen in that blood flow, your heart rate will come down. You'll be going just as fast. Anyway, you get my point. Off my soapbox, sorry. The answer to your question after my really long harangue, and I so apologize for all of that, the answer to your question is yes, you can absolutely run by feel and, let your competitive nature engage, especially on our pace. Our pace is all about recruiting dormant muscles that have not fired, and you can recruit dormant muscles that you have not used by going faster than normal or going slower than normal. You'll get slow twitch muscle fibers, or you will train and recruit faster muscle fibers, in some case fast twitch muscle fibers. But so there you go. So yeah, you can, especially on our pace, go for it speed wise. Threshold, you do want to finish those 3 or 4, sets. Why can't I think the word sets? You do want to finish all your sets and then cool down at the end. But the real thing is the high heart rate work. So if you're going so fast that you're slowing down and slowing down and slowing down, so you can't get your heart rate up that high on a T-pace run for that long, it's too much. So yeah, you can use heart rate as a tool, get your heart rate up there and keep it there, and if suddenly you're finding your heart rate is coming down, your pace is coming down, you're just plummeting. Even if your pace is coming down, but your heart rate is staying up there because you're really working hard and you're dehydrated and fatigue has raised your heart rate, even though you're slowing down, that's okay. So you can really use your watch for this workout. But it's all about those threshold runs, those interval runs really are about heart rate and sustained high levels of heart rate for longer periods of time. So if you're not sustaining, you're going too fast. Did that make sense? That long harangue? 220 plus your age out the window. Is there an alternative? Mel just asked that. Oh, Kat, thank you, Coach. You're very welcome. That's a great question that you asked. I know is an involved question, but great for all of us to hear. Mel, too, you're also another very fast runner. I saw Mel flying around the track last night. Is there something different from 220 minus your age? Yeah, what you can do is some watches do actually have testing for where your heart rate levels are. But even regardless of that, if you have a heart rate monitor, preferably something accurate, either a newer watch with the occipital reader in your wrist, or a heart rate strap. I wear a heart rate strap with my number two. They come out with the one and the two, then the three versions of all these watches. I'm Polar, I'm on number two. They just came out with number three, which is way better. But on my watch, I wear a heart rate strap. So with some kind of quality heart rate reading, you can kind of like run at, pretty quick pace for about 20 minutes. I mean, slowly speed up and speed up and speed up for about 20 minutes. And then run, depending on what you want to see, what threshold you want to see, you can then pick it up and go way faster for another like 10 minutes. And that's that last 10 or 20 minutes. So you can turn your watch on to start recording. Or when you get home, take a look at it on the computer and only take that faster segment or that second 10-minute, after you do your 10-minute warm up at, like half marathon or marathon race pace. And then you either speed up or maintain marathon race pace. Then you can take a look at that next 10 minutes or that next 20 minutes and really see what is the average heart rate at that speed, at that, what you're going at. And you can really get a pretty good understanding of what is threshold heart rate, what is marathon race pace heart rate, what is easy pace heart rate. You get a really good understanding from doing those little quickie, we could call it 30, 40-minute tests with that 20-minute warm up, and then you're going into your pace for 10 or 20 minutes. You get a really good understanding of what your heart rate is. For pacing, I mentioned this last week, I think. I know I mentioned it in the past. I do use that kind of that V dot. You'll see right there. I don't know if you can see it very clearly. There he goes. That V dot, see it backwards, V dot calculator. It's really not, high quality, but it puts you in the ballpark of where your paces are, sort of based on, what you've been doing either on a fast marathon race pace or half marathon, 5K, 10K, or any distance where you've run hard out in training and you have that data on a watch or your computer or whatever, where your finish time and your distance. Finish time, distance, or even pace and finish time, pace or distance and finish time. And you plug it into the calculator and blammo, it spits out all your training paces and your anticipated finish times of all your marathon, half marathon, 5K, 10K. Is it perfect? If your training is more speed work than aerobic slow stuff, then yeah, it'll be skewed that your faster work will be even faster than what's on the calculator, and your marathon finish time will actually be faster than what is reality because you've done more speed work, It can be really skewed to training, but if you're not bad in your training, like 80% is really low heart rate or 85 or more is low heart rate, then you're in the ballpark. With that calculator. And then you can plug in the pace, do the pace, and see where your heart rate is. And, you got a really good understanding of heart rate and pace and, where you're at in training. And keep in mind, in a couple of weeks, it may all change because you've been training and your fitness levels have increased. So, and that's even if you want to pay $150 for, blood lactate testing on a treadmill. I can tell you a couple places to go. I know Robert Forster on 5th and Wilshire has one. They do blood lactate testing. I know a guy named I know a couple people that do blood lactate testing. You can buy a machine. I think they're about $1,000 now or something. They're coming down in price. They have portable ones on the market now. It doesn't even hurt. You prick your finger and whatever. You can do that. It's a really, really efficient way of doing it. But you don't need to spend that kind of money. you don't need to be that exact, you know. Anyway, there you go. Okay, those great questions, very involved. Any other questions or something typed into the chat box? I'm not seeing more chat stuff. Any other questions? Any other questions going once, verbally or in the chat thing? Verbally or otherwise. I'm hearing my cat bell ringing. Anyway, questions going once, questions going twice. And there she is in the background. Questions going 3 times. There you go. Everybody, thank you very much for a great talk. And I thank you for joining in.
Thank you so much, Coach.
Thank you,
Yeah,
Coach.
take care, you guys. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for being on. Bye.
Bye,
Mel,
bye,
I
bye, bye.
appreciate you. Appreciate you too. Mel, thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah, Carla, thank you.
Thank you, Coach David. I'll see you Saturday and Sunday.
And Gil, thank you. And Mel, thanks. Carla, thanks. Thanks, you guys.
Thank you, Coach.
Yeah, Gil, we'll see you Sunday. That's right.
Yeah,
Exactly.
And Saturday too. I think it's 11 miler on Saturday.
Oh, you're going to be there for the 11 miler?
Well, Anel and me are talking. I think I'll be there, or we'll share it half and half.
Well, see how you do. You guys may want to do tag team, 5.5 each or something like that.
Yeah, we'll see. Whatever she prefers, I'll go. I mean, the 10 will be slower pace, so the 11 or 10 on Saturday will be slower pace.
Right, and then Sunday a little half marathon race pace, but yeah, be careful. Be careful you don't do too much on the weekend before you're pacing. So,
That's why I'm thinking we might share half and half. I'm talking to her about it. Like I'll do 6 or vice versa.
And yeah, I'll have more discussion on race day later, probably tomorrow morning. But make sure you wear your T-shirt. Your road runner post
I
leader.
have it ready. I'm preparing. So I have one for Saturday, one for Sunday.
Great, great, and I have all the signs and all that stuff, so we're good to go.
Okay, we'll do it. I even ordered Uber. I got one of those scooters, electric scooters. I can sit and go up with the sign, and people can follow.
Yeah, and people can follow you up and down the hills. Great choice. Yeah. That'll really go over well with the scooter pace leading. I like it. I like it.
We'll do good. I mean, Anil and me already talked, and I'm just trying to get people for one of the water stations right now.
Oh, yeah. You mean the water station Sunday?
Yeah, because I heard that the 4 girls that died in PCH1 were actually the water station F, I think.
Mm-hmm. Oh, hang on 1 second. No, she didn't. But hang on. Oh, actually, I'm going to turn off the recording. Sorry. Hang on. Let me just turn that off really quick.